The key element of healthcare today is that the healthcare needs to be coordinated.
The personal electronic health record is a very useful tool, and I think it will make the care of patients more efficient and more streamlined.
Now with the personally controlled electronic health record, I have access straight away to the patient's medical history.
This is a personally controlled electronic health record. The patient has absolutely the full control of the record. Who's on it, who reads it, who writes to it, and who accesses it.
In the past, I had to lug a whole heap of paperwork around with me every time I went somewhere so that everyone had the information that was required should I need it. Now, the good news is my information is available anywhere in Australia or anywhere else in the world, and I can be confident about the accuracy and the fact that it is up to date.
Jim's a really interesting patient of mine who I've known for over 18 years. He's just come up to 70 and has had diabetes, which he injects for many, many years.
Over the last few years, I've had a few problems. It has slowed me down considerably. Probably won't win any more World Beach Sprint titles.
This is your shared health summary on your personally controlled electronic health record. Jim has obviously got his diabetes, which we've managed to get to a really good place where it's not up and down all the time. He's very shortly going to be seeing a kidney specialist, a nephrologist, a cardiologist, a heart specialist, and an exercise physiologist, because I want to keep him fit, but I don't want him to burn himself out. I want him to be properly monitored in the way in which he does his exercise.
So Jim, good to see you again. Just having a look at your electronic health record here. Let's go through your medications and see if there have been any major changes in recent times. I concentrate very much on Jim's cardiological health, and that's what I focus on. However, there is a bigger picture of Jim's health, and with that, I do work in collaboration with his other health providers. Just focusing here on the aortic valve. The personal electronic health record is a very useful tool. It's a very useful tool for communication. It's a very useful tool, I think, for the patient in terms of having to remember all the medications that they take. It's a very useful tool for practitioners to be able to communicate as to what investigations occur, so we're not always doubling up on tests.
In my world as an exercise physiologist, the typical consultation time is half an hour. So now with the personally controlled electronic health record, I have access to the patient's medical history. So I can spend more time discussing health goals, discussing exercise goals, and prescribing a safe exercise program for that patient. So with Jim today, it was important that I could have a look at his medical history and also his medication. Now, do you know for your medication if you're on a beta blocker?
No, I'm not sure.
All right, I'll just check in your electronic health record.
I noticed from your PC EHR here a communication from Mukesh that he has some concern that you may still be a little bit anemic.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
In the bad old days, you'd spend time on the telephone trying to find out the information that can be communicated directly through the PCHR and trying to piece together pieces of the story. Communication between all the different specialists is extremely important, and for that information to be reliable, particularly around the medication lists and any problems that may be arising or any medications that may have changed recently. We really need to know at the time that we're seeing the patient, otherwise it could lead to bad outcomes for the patients.
Almost 4 years ago, I had burst appendix, peritonitis, kidney failure and a heart attack, all at the one time. I refer to it normally these days as my quaddie. It wasn't much fun lying down there thinking I wasn't going to be alive in about 15 minutes' time in a hospital ward, trying to give people information. My son was also trying to give information so we get some treatment. When you went from emergency to ICU, they lost the information. It didn't follow me around the hospital. In today's busy world, I can see an enormous advantage every time I go to a specialist, in as much as I don't have to brief them and bring them up to speed with everything that's happening. And I don't omit anything because I've actually got it all written down. It's there. They can see it. They can find the bits that they need. They can check which medication I'm on and what might affect something else.
I worry about Jim's health. Our worry is if something should happen to Jim, being so independent, that we would need some written information. So now, having it online, this is just brilliant. You need to have that reference at your fingertips, so the outcome is something that we can all smile about.
At the moment we're essentially operating in a hybrid mode where some information is received electronically, some information is received in a paper-based format. As we move to a more consistent framework of full electronic records, it means that information no longer needs to be scanned or stored in paper-based records. It means that information that's in the national system can be pulled down electronically and imported into the local record. In terms of the way that healthcare professionals collect healthcare information, that continues as is, but it creates a capability to be able to share information between healthcare providers via the National Health Record System. It's an improvement on current state.
The level of security is as secure as you can get. It's almost like a bank, but more so, because the information on here is very personal and very precious to people, and that's been built into the system from the bottom up.
I'm just putting in my latest medication from...
The personally controlled electronic health record is one step, one part of bringing technology into the healthcare system so that we can do our healthcare better, more effectively, by giving good information about a patient to all people looking after that patient, but most importantly, giving patient control of that.
There's no question it's challenging and confronting to some healthcare professionals. In 1970, when they introduced computers into the Age in Melbourne, the journalists walked out on strike. Now today, you'd think that's ludicrous. You'll look back in 10 or 15 years and people will say, most likely, what was the fuss about? This is the way we should be doing healthcare business.
This record is something that's going to be useful for all Australians, from the moment that they're born, through all stages of their life.
We have 3 children of our own, and of course with the eHealth plan, the whole idea would be to get them on the plan straight away. So if diabetes, as Jim has, rears its head in the family, then we can follow that through very closely.
Having beaten my first couple of goals to make it to 40 or maybe even 50 years of age, you set out 60 is the next target. Now I've burst through the old 70 barrier. I've got 3 lovely kids, 6 lovely grandchildren, and I'm looking forward to seeing my great-grandchildren.